Okay, I want to show, I go through a couple different versions or examples of the forgery, as well as people that are involved in the abduction of my children and kidnapping of my children, and working together in coercion or in collusion, working together, committing crimes, and changing records and lying about it in Shasta County Superior Court. And I'm going to show you a good example of that right now. This is a court order, basically a request for order that was filed January 10th, 2020. Okay. It says right here that it was filed and filled out by Kendra Snyder. That's actually not her handwriting. And that Kendra is the petitioner, and that I'm the respondent. And this is basically a change of temporary emergency custody orders, and then puts me as the person to notify of a notice of hearing on January 27th, 2020. Okay, look at the court order. Look how it's filled out. Okay, and it says right here at the bottom, other parents to follow 12/18/17 order. Jace is not to be left alone in the presence of Jason Lord. Okay, this is January 2020. This is right when Kendra started dating Jason, and Jason was being abusive to my kids automatically. Like, I'm pretty sure that Jason Lord knew Judge Gibson and Sandra Wilson before he even showed up at Kendra's house in January 2020, because he automatically just started abusing and beating my kids and threatening Kendra and the kids. Okay, so this is a court order that's filed January 10th, 2020. This is another version of the same paperwork. Let me show you. Okay. This paperwork, and I'm gonna put them close together just so you can kind of see the differences. Okay, but this paperwork filled out by me. Okay, this one's filled out by Kendra. Okay, now look at the exact, and I'm gonna put them next to each other. Okay, but look, my address and my name on the top. Okay, and then it says petitioner as Kendra and the respondent as me. Okay, the same boxes checked out. This one says temporary emergency custody orders, child custody orders, other Jason Lord not to be around minor children. Filed on January 10th. It says the exact same date, right? Okay, this is a notice of hearing, and it says this is to notify Kendra. Same court date, same time. All right. Now look at the bottom of this. This is where the form apparent. Okay, so all the same boxes are checked out. Okay, now this court order says parents to follow 12/18/17 order. Jace is not to be left alone in the presence of Jason Lord. 1/10/20. Okay, signed by Commissioner Stromberg. Now I'm going to put these right on top of each other, and I'm going to show you. Okay. And this is actually written in Commissioner Stromberg's handwriting, okay? But the wording is a little bit different. Parents to follow 10/18/17 order. Jace is on this version, right? And then Jace is, and it's scratched out on that. It says not, and then the not is on the top portion of this version of the page, or I guess you could say, or this. I don't want to say version. I want to just say forged paperwork, but you can tell it's forged because of the wording is different. Okay, you can see it. It's very, very, very relevant. It says not to be left around, and then Jason Lord is not in this section right here, but Jason Lord is right here. Okay, just the little differences. Okay, alone in the presence of, and then it's signed by Commissioner Stromberg. This one's actually received and dated January 8th, 2020. So that means the clerk's office has actually received the copy of this particular paperwork. So who would do that and why. And that's the crimes that are committed against me and my children, because whoever would do that would change my court order for emergency custody orders of my children, and the fact that Jason Lord is not to be around the kids, and would change my court order that was filed in Shasta County Superior Court, okay? And they would change it to Kendra's name and Kendra's court order, and change it to basically be filed on Kendra's behalf. So they could grant Kendra custody of the kids or take the kids away from me so that I couldn't get my kids help and I couldn't get my kids evaluated at the doctor. And the fact that Judge Gibson was overseeing this case, Judge Burgess was overseeing this case, Commissioner Stromberg was overseeing this case for several years at this point in 2020. The fact that this is in Commissioner Stromberg's handwriting, you could see it clear as day. This is her handwriting. She obviously helped forge another court order and made it in Kendra's behalf. Okay, the reason why the difference would be of the name, right, would basically be changing the court order to Kendra filing the paperwork, okay, and requesting temporary custody orders instead of me, okay, and then the court hearing being on this date, 1/27/20, and at this time, this is when Jace started living with me full time. And I was trying to get my two youngest kids away from Jason Lord and Kendra Snyder. So this would be really relevant in an abduction case or a criminal case, because this paperwork got changed, and the fact that Judge Gibson granted Kendra custody orders around Jason, and Jason Lord is abusive to my kids. That's criminal intent. That's putting my kids in harm or in risk, and not in the children's best interest. And the fact that Jace was living with me full time, that is the best interest of the kids. Okay, so it doesn't matter how many years ago, or it doesn't matter who forged the paperwork. None of that's all bullshit. It's all just fucking excuses because they don't want to be held accountable. The fact that that this is proof that two judges were making decisions and forging paperwork and making decisions that got my children hurt. That shows collusion right there. That shows that the Shasta County Superior Court itself, right, and judges are working together to take my children away from me, okay? And then I got charged with a crime a year after this. So that is malicious prosecution, okay? And the fact that it's forged, changed, I mean, that's obvious, right? Okay, so this is what happens, is the declaration. So this version that I filed for emergency custody orders, right, has my declaration and reason why I wanted emergency custody of my children. Okay, you see the declaration, right? And the reason why is I'm asking for sole custody of my concern is the children's safety around my mom, around Jason Lord, and Kendra's lack of concern, and they call it failure to keep your children safe, failure to provide for your children. And I said the ongoing verbal harassment, destruction of personal property, and overall well-being. My son Jace has heard mom and boyfriend fighting, yelling, been locked in his bedroom, tried to call the police and can't use the phone. So that's ongoing all the time, including right now, right? So this paperwork got changed in Shasta County Superior Court. Okay, this got thrown out. Okay, and it was replaced with this. And now you see the difference in the handwriting, okay, of this handwriting and then this handwriting, right? This is not Kendra Snyder's handwriting. And so whatever was written and says, I'm filing to get sole physical custody of Jace Jackson Ava based on the fact that I am very afraid of Jacob Snyder's mindset. Like, this is the fabricated stories and nonsense and basically bullshit that was filed against me defamation of my character and destroying my credibility. But not only that, but replaced the court order that was already filed by me to get custody of my kids back. Okay, so the fact that it was changed, and this is not in Kendra Snyder's handwriting, and they're talking, saying negative things about me, and then use these accusations against me to charge me with the crime later, right? That is vindictive prosecution. Okay, that's why I should have never been arrested in the first place. That's why I had a huge problem with probation and the sentencing. I sat in jail for a year. They wouldn't let me out. And then I did all the things with probation and provided all this information to the probation department, my probation officer, as well as the DA. You know, I provided all this information, and that's why I was on probation for 2 years, and then finally decided that, you know, enough was enough. You know what I mean? The fact that I have proof of the forgery. Okay, so then you go into all the times that custody orders were granted to me, right? I was granted custody of my kids several times and full custody of my oldest son, Jace, several times. And Judge Gibson kept interfering with those other judges' decisions. Okay, kept taking my kids away, right? Now, phones. Well, here, real quick, I want to show you this real quick. And then this would be retaliation, all right? So this is a complaint against Judge Gibson with the California court. It's called California Court Commissioner or Referee, and it is with the Commission of Judicial Performance. Okay, and this is a formal complaint that was filed against Judge Gibson and Judge Darrell Kennedy and Judge Flynn. Okay, with case numbers and incident numbers and dates, reason for the complaint, and then as well as it says there's a statement on the back. This was all filed in August 2021 against Judge Gibson. My kids were taken away. My two youngest kids were taken away in October, and then my oldest son Jace was taken away in February of 2022. Within 6 months. Within 6 months of filing this, a complaint against these judges, and that would be an investigation into these judges. Okay, so this was filed. This is filed with the Commission of Judicial Performance in the state of California. Okay, so that being said, okay, let's talk about phones for a second. This is from the State Attorney General, and it says, calls from your own phone number. How is it possible? And it says, scam artists now use technology to make a person's caller ID show their own name and phone number, making it appear as though a person is calling him or himself, or calling someone else from your phone. The scam artists are falsifying or spoofing call ID information. Spoofing scams are often perpetrated by criminal gangs located outside the state or country, attempting to mask their identity and evade law enforcement. Under the federal law, the Truth in Caller ID Act 2009, using caller ID spoofing to defraud someone in a crime, scam artists who use spoofing technology perpetrate so-called card service scams, medical alert device scams, and a number of other scams. These scams are usually designed to steal money, personal information, children. So if there's very important to be aware of calls that appear to become from your own phone, you should never provide your personal information or financial information to unknown callers. Theft or personal and financial information is a crime and should be reported to local authorities. This was reported to local authorities. The problem is that one safe place and corrupt judges and corrupt police officers and Family Dynamics Wellness Center, Sandra Wilson, Stephanie Bridget and Judge Gibson and some corrupt police officers in Shasta County are basically a criminal organization that abducts children and human trafficking children and sex trafficking children. And that is the spoofing and the reason why people get like fake phone calls from my phone number or text messages from my phone number or even messages from my Facebook or inappropriate content or I've heard that there's websites or blogs that are created in my name, and then those links are shared or emailed to other people. That would be the reason why that's happening to me, is because my children were abducted and they were molested by Judge Gibson. And then that would be the problem with the phones. That's the issue, is that people's phones got hacked by Judge Gibson, Sandra Wilson, this criminal organization trying to kidnap children and abduct children and threaten us and intimidate us. Thank you. God bless.